Have you ever had a gut feeling so strong it felt like a physical hand squeezing your heart, telling you that your perfect life was actually a house of cards? My name is Jenna, and for 10 years I believed I was the luckiest woman alive. My husband, David, was a high-flying consultant who traveled 3 weeks out of every month. It was hard being alone with our 2 kids, but the lifestyle he provided was incredible: the private school, the designer clothes, the gated community. He'd come home exhausted, bearing expensive gifts and stories of boardroom battles in London or Tokyo. I never questioned him. Why would I? He was my rock. But last month, a glitch in a food delivery app turned my fairy tale into a psychological thriller. It was a Tuesday night, and David was supposedly in Singapore for a massive merger. I went to order some late-night sushi on his shared account when I saw a recent order pop up. It was for a pepperoni pizza and 2 sodas, delivered just 40 minutes ago, to an address only 15 minutes away from our house. I assumed the account had been hacked. I called the number of the delivery driver, expecting a stranger, but instead I heard a woman's voice in the background of the call laughing, a laugh that sounded hauntingly familiar. It was my sister, Mia. I hung up, my hands shaking so hard I dropped my phone. I didn't call David, I didn't call Mia. I grabbed my car keys, left the kids with the neighbor, and drove to that address. It was a modest townhouse in a neighborhood I'd passed 1,000 times. David's car wasn't in the driveway, but through the gap in the curtains I saw him. He wasn't in a suit. He was in a faded t-shirt and sweatpants, sitting on a couch helping my sister's youngest son with his homework. He looked happy, not the exhausted executive happy he played for me, but genuinely at peace. I sat in my car for 3 hours, watching my life's shadow play out through a window. I realized David hadn't been to Singapore in years. He'd been living a double life, playing dad to my sister's children while I raised ours alone, believing he was conquering the world for us. I confronted them the next morning. I didn't scream, I was too hollow for that. The emotional twist wasn't even the affair, it was the reason behind it. My sister looked me dead in the eye and said, "You always had to be the best, Jenna. The best grades, the best husband, the best house. David couldn't breathe in your perfect world. He didn't want a queen, he wanted a home." David stood there, unable to even look at me, admitting that he had used his travel budget to fund a second, secret family with my own flesh and blood. He had been splitting his paycheck, his time, and his soul between 2 sisters for an entire decade. The shocking ending: I didn't file for divorce immediately. I found out that because David had been funneled company money into travel expenses that didn't exist, he had committed massive corporate fraud. I gave him a choice: sign over every single asset, the house, the savings, the investments, to me and the kids, or I go to the feds with the receipts I found in his work briefcase. He signed. He's now living in that tiny townhouse with my sister, working a minimum wage job because no firm will touch him, while I'm living in the mansion he built on lies. But the real kicker: my sister called me yesterday, crying because David had to go away on a business trip. It turns out some men don't change, they just find a new audience for the same old show.